Hello everybody and welcome to another My Music. Just adjust my mic while I'm doing that. I've got to remember to take the dog to school with me today. I forgot yesterday and so my daughter's left me a little note. Take dog to school, don't forget. Remember, and then there's a whole paragraph about remember family and friends are really important. So you must work with them, spend less time working, remember the dog. So hopefully I won't forget today. Andy, have you ever forgotten something like that, to take the dog to school or you know, make packed lunches or no?
I sometimes forget we have a cat when he doesn't turn up for days on end, but other than that, no, that's fine.
They do that.
Yep.
Really, yeah. Ours unfortunately disappeared completely and never turned up, so we've lost 2 or 3 cats unfortunately, but there you go. We will be speaking to Andy from Dragon Welding about the new album and his life in music in general just after this.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
Now, Andy, I think the first question I've got to ask you is, so have you ever been put on the naughty step?
I would imagine so. I mean, I was pretty quiet as a child. You tend to, when you're quite tall and wear glasses, you tend to try and slip away from most of the action. So, if I was put there, I'd probably put myself on there.
So, Naughty Step is the name of the album. It's also the second song on the album. What was the inspiration behind that?
I don't know. I just tend to write a lot of lyrics, and it was just something that I found amusing being put on the naughty step, and then sort of like try to sort of like relate it to various parts of my experience, and just started writing a few verses, and yeah, there you go. And the song came out of it. So.
Yeah, you sure you just didn't watch too many episodes of Super Nanny at some point? No,
never seen Superman.
Have you not? No. Well, perhaps you now need to go and watch it for kind of reference point, because you know it's one of her favourite activities is showing parents how to use a naughty step.
Yeah, I think if I was ever put on the naughty step, I would have probably quite enjoyed the solitude. So I think tried it a couple of times with my children, but they never paid any attention to me. So I don't think it ever worked.
You put them on the naughty step, went back 2 days later, and they're still there.
They'll be quite happy.
Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? It only kind of works if. A, you can completely ignore your children if they're kicking off, and B, if your children are craving attention. If they're quite happy in their own little world, then it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think my son might have adhered to it, but my daughter would have just laughed at us. So, and she always got round us that way, just by laughing, and that was it. You could never tell her off. Can
I talk about the first song on the album, Up and Away? That's immediately a great sort of like 80s dance floor filler, really, isn't it? I mean, it's, yeah.
That's sort of the. I never sort of start out to make records that sound like a particular genre or any particular style, but yeah, it just sort of seemed to go that way, and I thought, well, I've never really done anything like that, so yeah, why not go with this?
Yeah. Are you big? I mean, for me, it kind of immediately took me back to people like Blancmange and people like that. Were you kind of a big fan of that sort of era of music?
I was aware of its existence. It was sort of a parallel to my sort of my preferences. I was very much a guitar person, but everyone at school was really into that kind of a futurist, new wave, new romantic stuff as well. So yeah, and when we used to go out to discos or whatever, they very rarely played the kind of music that I wanted to listen to. So yeah, I was just very, very immersed in it, even if I didn't want to be, really. And obviously on Radio 1, there's particularly Radio 1, that's all they really played for a lot of the time.
Oh, were you a bit of a rebel at school then? Everyone else was like, reading sort of like sound on sound and, electronic music, and you were reading guitarist or whatever.
Yeah, it would have been sounds really rather than sound on sound, yeah. So, well, I liked it also. That was my problem. So everyone sort of broke off into these little cliques of like the mods and the rockers and the punks and the electro people, and I just loved it all. So I just to try and hang around with all of them, and that sort of annoyed them really, because half the time I didn't think, why is this long-haired guy with an AC/DC t-shirt on coming to Ultravox gigs with us? But I don't know, I just loved it all. So.
Talking about that, then, I mean, I was talking to a younger musician about that just the other day, and I think it's interesting because we grew up in that time when people were kind of segregated by music. They came together in their own little communities because you followed a particular genre or particular set of bands or whatever. But seems like these days, people are really happy to listen to just about anything. And actually, a lot of gigs now, even you'll get 2 or 3 bands and they'll all be completely different in terms of the type of music that they're putting out, whereas years ago, it used to always be that they would always be similar in style,
it was very tribal, especially at school, and if you didn't particularly belong to one of the tribes, and they sort of like viewed you with suspicion if you like sort of showed interest in them, in their kind of music. So I think it's definitely changed now. I mean, because obviously like, we're talking about music like 30, 40 years ago or whatever, and now it's just music and it's all there for everybody, whereas like in the old days you had to invest a lot of time and indeed money to actually go out and buy the records and actually listen to the music. So I think now everything is just like so readily available. It's just like it's just music, so which is sort of kind of a shame, but at the same time obviously very enlightening and a lot easier to listen to the kind of music that maybe you were only reading about in the music papers back in the day, because you couldn't buy everything and you couldn't listen to every John Peel show and you couldn't take every record off of your friends. So
well, John always was playing a complete mixture of music, wasn't he? Although I'd say that he probably avoided a lot of the more commercial stuff just because everybody else was playing it.
But a lot of those bands, obviously, he was the champion of them before they became commercial. So he was a very important person. Yeah.
Unless he played your record at the wrong speed, which he was infinitely famous for as well.
I used to love doing that as well. So spirit.
Yeah. Was there any track in particular that you ever played at the wrong speed? Because
the one that used to fascinate us the most as kids, me and my brothers, was Witch Doctor Meets the Purple People Eater by the Big Bopper, which was one of those 50s novelty records where the vocal was sped up. And then if you played the 45 back at 16 RPM, like it was just the guy's normal voice. So like, that was great. I used to love all that.
Yeah, I tried playing Jive Bunny at the wrong speed once. Tried slowing it down. It was still rubbish. But it's just it was worth a go though.
16 Tons by Tennessee Ernie Ford. Speed that one up. That sounds much better.
Fantastic. Is this behind you? Is this where most of the writing happens? Where do you tend to write?
Yeah, I tend to write more on trains and buses. Actually, Lyrically, I sort of get writer's block if I'm sitting in my kitchen because there's not really much to look at other than the birds, which are lovely, and the cat and the cooking utensils. So like when I'm sort of like out and about walking on trains, literally as I'm just about to go in to see someone, then I'll get an idea and then have to stop and sit down for 10 minutes and just get some ideas down. So. But and then musically, I write a lot on my iPhone, iPad. I tend to record stuff into it and then edit it and see what comes out of it, and then that's how the songs tend to appear mostly these days.
Well, we see a load of guitars for people that are listening. There's a load of guitars on the wall behind you, and boxes of, I can only imagine, gear, etc. But there also seems to be an awful lot of physical copies of music there as well.
Yeah, so, nowhere else to put them.
Do you? What are you like as a listener? Do you tend to dive in and go, actually today I'm going to deliberately make myself listen to something different, or do you tend to always go back to the same things?
I'll be honest, I tend to listen to radio more than anything these days, because there's so much variety of so many varieties of shows out there that there's just so much to listen to, new stuff that I wouldn't have time to listen to it all if I actually just sat down and tried to stream it or whatever. I tend to listen to a lot of Louder Than More radio, Six Music, obviously, Gid and.
So you like to have your music curated for you in a way. You like?
Yeah, but then obviously then sometimes on a Saturday night, me and my wife will just sit in the kitchen and we'll just go down a Spotify rabbit hole like everyone does and end up wherever you end up, which is also great fun. So yeah. But I do still buy a lot of vinyl and a lot of CDs, especially off of eBay. Anything that's cheap. I'm one of these people that if I hear one track by someone, I'll just go onto eBay and try and buy their whole back catalogue for under $5. So that's much to my wife's disgust because I've got so many CDs, it's ridiculous. So.
I know. I always get told off for that. Do you know what I mean? It's like why do you need it? You've got Spotify. Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's completely different.
Not the same, is it? You need to hold it.
You need to hold. Well, yeah. I mean, how important is that side of things for you, especially like when you put stuff out in terms of the aesthetic of the physical product and what's in there and the notes and everything else? I mean, is that
yeah? I mean, especially vinyl. I've only ever released 2 albums that haven't been released on vinyl, so that's always sort of been there. Back even all the Wolfhounds albums now on vinyl as well, which is really good. And my vinyl collection was in my shed for about 10 years. I'm ashamed to say, and then then I've started to get back into it and got them all out. And thankfully, they're not too bad condition, but I do tend to buy more vinyl than anything else these days. So.
Yeah, it's good that it's making a resurgence, isn't it?
Yeah.
In a way. Yeah.
Especially with the sleeves, because the new one's got a gatefold sleeve as well with all the lyrics on the inside. And it looks great, and then
yeah. Are you concerned that people are buying vinyl but just not playing it? They're just collecting it and putting it on the shelf. Or...
Not really my problem. So. I play it, so
I don't care as long as they give me the money. It's fine.
It was my turntable is in one room and the main speakers are in the kitchen. And a couple of months ago, I actually Bluetoothed up the amp from one room into the kitchen. I was very pleased with that. So now we can play vinyl basically around the whole house. So that's really good. It's obviously it's the getting up and changing sides thing that's a bit annoying. But
yeah. So for people that perhaps not followed your music career so far, I mean, what have you done very differently on this album in terms of?
The first Dragon Welding album was totally. Almost an accident. I just carried on writing songs on the back of the Wolfhounds album that preceded it, and then just sent them to a turntable friend who put that album out, the label, and the guy liked it and just released it. So that was good. And then I sort of just carried on from there, really. The next one was a wholly instrumental album, Lights Behind the Eyes, just some guitar instrumentals and mixes that I was working on, so that's really good. And then the second one was supposed to be a double album. Unfortunately, Dimple Discs ran out of money to actually put it out as a double vinyl LP, so that's why it's a bit strange. It's 120 minutes on the CD, so it's a bit long. But the last track was supposed to be a 20-minute side 4 Pink Floyd type opus, which it is, but it would be much better if you could turn it over on vinyl and play it on side 4, so hopefully one day that will come out. And then there was a track on that album called The Dark, which I worked with Ant Chapman from Claps Lung was singing on it, and I got a gig supporting Keeley in London, and Ant was going to come and sing it on stage, but unfortunately double booked himself with the ABBA musical on the same night. So I called Nick's bluff because Nick said to me at the time, "Why didn't you ask me? I would have sung it on the album." And I said, "I'm sorry." So his chance came, and I said, "Look, Ant can't do it. Do you want to come along and sing a couple of songs?" So he did, and it worked really well, I thought. So I was writing a whole bunch of songs for this new album. So I just said to Nick, "Do you want to sing them?" So I sent him the songs, and he's got a little studio up in his house in Manchester. He rehearsed, came down and sang on them, and I think they just sound great. I didn't envisage anybody else singing on my records. It just sounds fantastic. So there you go. That's where we are.
When you say Nick, just for people that don't know, who are you talking about there?
Nik Cockshott. So Nik Cockshott is a long-time friend, Wolfhounds fan. Played in a couple of bands in the 80s. One of them, the Keatons, actually supported the Wolfhounds back in 88, I think. And I didn't know he was a singer. We played at the Preston Pop Fest, and he was doing the thing on a Friday afternoon with a band, which I missed, and caught up with on YouTube about a week later. And I thought, oh, this guy can sing. So just almost like a happy accident that was sort of manufactured a bit. But I certainly didn't intend him to sing a whole album, but it's come out really well, I think.
It has come out really well, and it's a really great vocal all the way through the album as well. So I think people will really enjoy this. I think. Do you think this is possibly your most accessible album to date?
Yes, as a sort of a cohesive a piece of work. Yeah, I mean, the last album, Fixturing, again, it was just a lot of different ideas that I was working on that I put together, which works really well. It's still cohesive, but this one is definitely. It has a direction. I think it's the first one with a direction. We've sort of almost recorded another 1 3/4 albums now ready to go, and those ones are sounding even better, I think, and I'm really quite excited about those.
Wow.
Finding the time and the patience of Dimple Discs to actually release them.
What happens if, like, for some reason, one of these songs on this album just happens to go big, and you suddenly find yourself, needing to do the whole kind of social media thing and whatever tomorrow, and getting out there in front of people? Would you be ready for that? Or
yeah, we've done about 5 or 6 gigs live now. It's obviously quite a not laborious. That's not the word. There's a lot of backing tracks that I use on iPads, and I tend to play live instruments over the top, just because it's not practical really to do the whole thing live as a band. But saying that, the other band I'm in with my children, the others, they do come up, and we do like 3 or 4 songs at the end of the gig just as the full band, and that seems to work really well as well. Like it's and I think that freaked Nik out, first of all, because he hadn't sung with a band for like 30 years. So it's a bit more random sometimes than singing along to backing tracks. So, but yeah, it works really well. So it would be quite interesting to get them to come along and maybe do a whole show one day with like just a full band and no electronics. So I'm working on that one in the back of my mind.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about, trying to get any of this on a sync, getting it out there on a film or anything like that?
No, I haven't.
No.
It's all beyond me.
Beyond you. Get your children involved. I'm sure
Yeah,
they can. Yeah, that's what children are for. They know all of this stuff. When us old people don't understand it, they just go, "Oh, you just do it like this." And I get one of my sons to look at my YouTube now and again. He goes, "Oh, you haven't done this right, Dad." And it's like, "Oh, okay. Well, you put it right then. Yeah, I'll do that."
Send him round, please, because I have no idea what I'm doing. I'll just make it up as I go along.
Is that part of your raison d'etre, though? Making it up as you go along? Is that?
When I've always recorded ever since I was like 14, 15, whatever anybody had, even if it was just literally on a cassette, even going back to younger than that, when I was 10, my first ever Philips little cassette recorder, I was recording into that, making up things. And then when the Wolfhounds came to the end first time round, I retired from music, age 25, because I was too old to do it. I was well past it. And then stopped doing anything really for a few years, and then started getting back into it with my brothers and a friend of mine, Paul, who ended up being in the Wolfhounds and in the others. We found ourselves sitting around in pubs on Friday nights talking about how good it used to be in bands. And then one night come up with the idea, so why don't we just form another band? So we did, and then from there it carried on, and then I've been doing it ever since then. So I think my 16-year-old self would never have forgiven myself if I hadn't got into iPads and garage bands, because it's just such an amazing technology to write and record on that I can't imagine being without it, really.
Absolutely. Do you feel like privileged, stroke proud, or stroke? How do you feel about growing up in that technological boom, if you like?
Yeah, it's been an interesting time to grow through. I mean, obviously, a lot. None of that stuff existed when I was young, and then as more and more comes along, I have a loft full of very expensive, obsolete equipment that would prove my point if anybody wants to challenge me. My Fostex DMT8 VL, which cost me £1,000 at the time, is now probably worth a tenner.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, what was kind of the first bit of tech kit that you ever got your hands on?
Yeah, it was that, and a Yamaha QI700 sequencer.
Oh wow!
Which is still in the loft, an amazing thing. And then once you get into that, you start MIDIing things up to it. Then obviously it's difficult to stop by anything with a MIDI port, and I'll buy that. So,
The first thing I bought was a Yamaha CX-5M. Do you remember that?
No. Is that
Oh, right.
drum machine, is it?
No, it was a music computer. It was a hybrid that was made with Yamaha and Mitsubishi, I believe, and it was a computer connected to a 5-octave keyboard with carts that you could put into the computer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you could, and then it had scoring software on it, so you could score on.
Oh, wow.
Computer.
Okay. Yeah. I got made redundant in about 2005 and scoured boot sales. Initially, the plan was to sell things on eBay, which worked for a while. But then after a while, I just started falling in love with the things I was finding.
You're buying stuff on eBay,
and they're still in my loft. So, one day.
Maybe you should start a museum.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I could do. Yeah.
That would be a great idea. Just to finish with, favorite song on the album?
Favorite song on the album? I think Hiding Things for Fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like nothing else I've ever written before, really, and I think Nik sings it fantastically. So yeah, I really like that one.
So that's maybe the place to start. Maybe that's the one we'll put on the My Music Podcast playlist for you.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
As we kind of finish up today, and that would be a great place for people to start if they've never listened to your music before. So thanks, Andy, for coming along chatting today. Hope you've enjoyed our little conversation.
Yeah.
How can people help you out there?
How can people help me? Just buy the records and put likes on the YouTube channel, really. So
give us your money.
Give us your money. No, just hope people. I'll never stop making music, so whether people buy it is almost irrelevant to me because I can't stop. It's not within me to stop.
But buy it anyway, please, because it's all good stuff, and maybe one day. Someone will teach Andy how to do all of the sync stuff and whatever, and we might see one of his tracks on a Netflix series or something, and that'd be great. And then then you could retire, even though you wouldn't want to. Thanks for coming to join me today and talking some music, Andy. This has been the wonderful Andy from Dragon Welding. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. If you have, please do go and share with other people. Remember, you can catch up on previous episodes of this at mymusic.com. And you can also now join the My Music community, details of which are on the website as well. We'll be back soon with more of the same. But until then, from Andy and I, bye for now.